Story disclaimer. This story is a work of fiction and is intended for entertainment purposes only. The content includes dark themes, horror elements, and fictional depictions of rituals and sacrifices that are purely imaginative and not reflective of any real-life practices or beliefs. Viewer discretion is advised. This video is not suitable for younger audiences, and parental guidance is recommended. The story does not endorse or promote any harmful behavior, violence, or dangerous activities. Please note that all characters, events, and settings are entirely fictional and created for the purpose of storytelling. Any resemblance to actual persons, living or dead, or actual events, is purely coincidental. In this gripping episode, Aisha, Kofi, and Malachi face new trials as they harness the power of the heart and prepare their village for the growing threat of the cult. Mysterious rituals reveal ominous warnings, while alliances are forged and put to the test. As their courage and bonds deepen, the shadow of danger grows darker, testing their strength and unity. The cult leader's relentless pursuit and the looming presence of ancient, powerful forces push them to confront both external dangers and inner fears. With each victory comes the realization that the true battle is just beginning. Stay tuned as the story unfolds with unexpected twists, desperate confrontations, and the unyielding spirit of a community determined to protect their home. The victory at the factory left Aisha and her friends both relieved and anxious. They understood that their confrontation with the cult had merely postponed a greater threat. Each evening, they met at Amina's shop, where they deepened their knowledge of magic, spirits, and the cult's intentions. One night, as they pored over a dusty tome filled with spells and incantations, Amina pointed to a passage. This explains a curse tied to the heart. It states that if the bearer does not respect its power, they could unleash untold chaos. Aisha frowned. What does that mean? It means we must be careful. The heart is not just a source of power, it also demands responsibility. If we fail to honor it, we risk drawing the very darkness we seek to defeat, Amina warned. Kofi looked thoughtful. So, what do we do? How do we honor it? Amina suggested they perform a cleansing ritual, one that would show their respect for the heart's power. They needed to channel their energy not just for protection, but for gratitude as well. That night, they gathered at the riverbank, surrounded by the gentle sounds of flowing water. The moon shone brightly overhead, casting silver beams on the water's surface. As they formed a circle, Amina instructed them to close their eyes and focus on the heart. They reached out, feeling the energy pulsing within them, connecting them to one another and to the spirit of the heart. With each heartbeat, Aisha could feel the power surging through her veins, a warmth that filled her with purpose. They chanted softly, their voices blending with the sounds of nature around them. Suddenly, the air around them shifted, and Aisha felt a cold wind sweep through the circle. She opened her eyes to see shadows creeping along the water's edge, twisting and swirling in an unnatural dance. What's happening? Malachi gasped, his voice filled with fear. It's the darkness. Amina shouted, her eyes wide. It senses our gathering. The shadows lunged toward them, a swirling mass of malevolent energy. Aisha felt the heart pulse violently against her chest, urging her to respond. Stay together. Kofi shouted, pulling them closer. We have to push it back. They raised their hands, channeling their combined magic into a beam of light. Aisha focused on the heart, visualizing a barrier of light forming around them. As the shadows neared, they collided with the barrier, sending shockwaves through the air. The darkness howled, a cacophony of anguished screams echoing in the night. Aisha could feel the strain on her body as she poured all her energy into the barrier. We won't let you in, she declared, her voice rising above the chaos. With a final surge, they pushed back against the darkness, and the shadows began to retreat. The air grew still, the wind coming as the shadows faded into nothingness. Breathless, Aisha collapsed to the ground, her heart racing. Did we stop it? Amina knelt beside her, concern etched on her face. For now, yes. But this is a warning. The darkness knows we are here, and it will come for us again. As they gathered their strength, Aisha felt a newfound determination. They had faced the darkness and survived, but she knew they had much more to learn. Tomorrow, we dive deeper into the rituals, Aisha said, her voice steady. We need to be ready for whatever comes next. Kofi nodded, a fierce light in his eyes. Together, we can face anything. Days turned into weeks as Aisha, Kofi, and Malachi prepared for the challenges ahead. They delved into ancient texts, practicing spells and rituals that could strengthen their connection to the heart and protect them from the looming darkness. One evening, as they gathered at Amina's shop, the atmosphere felt heavier than usual. Amina looked at them seriously. We need to discuss the cult's plans. They are not idle, they are searching for something. What do you mean? Aisha asked, concern creeping into her voice. I believe they are searching for the other hearts. If they can gather them, they'll gain unimaginable power, Amina explained. Kofi's expression darkened. We can't let that happen. We have to find them first. Amina nodded. Exactly. But it won't be easy. The cult is using dark magic to locate the hearts, and they won't stop until they have them. Aisha felt a knot form in her stomach. So what do we do? We need to find allies, Amina said. Others who possess magic and can help us in this fight. Kofi leaned forward, his eyes bright with determination. I know some people in the village who might be willing to join us. We should gather them and form a plan. As they plotted their next steps, Amina pulled out an ancient map. This map shows the locations of the remaining huts. We can start our search here, she said, pointing to a spot deep in the forest. The forest? Isn't that where the cult was last seen? Malachi asked, apprehension creeping into his voice. Yes, and that's why we need to be cautious. The cult will likely have eyes everywhere, Amina warned. They decided to set out the following day, each of them feeling the weight of their mission. As the sun rose, Aisha gathered her belongings, her heart racing with anticipation and fear. The forest loomed ahead, its dense trees casting long shadows across the path. Aisha could feel the energy pulsing around them, a mixture of life and something darker lurking beneath the surface. As they ventured deeper, they encountered strange symbols carved into the trees, remnants of ancient magic. Amina studied them closely. These mark the boundary of the cult's territory. We need to tread carefully. Kofi glanced around, his instincts on high alert. Stay close, he urged, his voice low. Suddenly, the rustling sound broke the silence. The group froze, their hearts pounding. A figure emerged from the shadows, stepping into the light. It was an old man with a weathered face, his eyes sharp and penetrating. Who dares enter this sacred ground? He demanded, his voice booming. Amina stepped forward, her voice steady. We seek the heart and wish to protect it from the darkness. The old man studied them for a moment before nodding slowly. You have courage. But courage alone will not save you. The darkness is powerful, and it will not hesitate to consume you. What do we need to do? Aisha asked, determination shining in her eyes. Prove your worth. Only those who can harness the true essence of the heart can hope to face the cult, the old man replied. With that, he gestured for them to follow him deeper into the forest. They entered a clearing filled with ancient trees, their branches intertwining above them. At the center stood a stone altar, inscribed with more symbols. Here, you will perform a rite of passage, the old man instructed. Only those who can truly connect with the heart will be able to draw its power. As they gathered around the altar, Amina explained the ritual. We must each place our hands on the stone and focus our energy on the heart, channeling our intentions. One by one, they placed their hands on the altar. Aisha felt a surge of warmth as she closed her eyes, envisioning the heart's power coursing through her. She concentrated, willing the energy to grow. Suddenly, a blinding light erupted from the altar, engulfing them all. Aisha felt herself lifted, her body weightless as she was surrounded by the essence of the heart. Visions flooded her mind, memories of the past, whispers of the future. She could see the cult's dark intentions, their plans unraveling before her. And then, she saw the other hearts, scattered like stars across the land. With a gasp, she broke free from the vision, breathless and exhilarated. They had been given a glimpse of the path ahead. The old man nodded approvingly. You have connected with the heart. But this is just the beginning. You must learn to wield its power wisely. As they left the clearing, Aisha felt invigorated, the weight of their mission lifted. They had allies and knowledge, and now they were ready to face whatever darkness lay ahead. With the newfound knowledge from the old man, Aisha, Kofi, and Malachi felt a renewed sense of purpose as they left the forest. They headed back to the village, eager to gather their allies and prepare for the challenges ahead. Once in the village, they found a group of villagers gathered in the square, discussing the recent strange occurrences. Whispers of shadowy figures and dark rituals filled the air, and Aisha could sense the fear that had settled over the community. We need to show them they are not alone, Kofi said, his voice strong. We need to unite them against the cult. Amina nodded in agreement. Let's share our experiences and rally the villagers. They need to understand the power of the heart and how we can protect it together. As the sun began to set, they stood before the villagers, their hearts pounding with a mixture of excitement and anxiety. Aisha stepped forward, drawing on her courage. Friends, we come to you with a message of hope. The darkness is real, and it threatens not only us but our entire community, she began. But together, we can stand against it. We have learned of the power of the heart, and we can wield it to protect ourselves and our loved ones. The villagers listened intently, their eyes filled with curiosity and concern. Kofi added, we need your strength and courage. Together, we can confront the cult and reclaim our future. As they shared their experiences and the rituals they had learned, Aisha could see the fire of determination igniting in the hearts of the villagers. They began to murmur amongst themselves, and a sense of unity began to form. Who will stand with us? Amina called out, her voice echoing through the square. One by one, villagers stepped forward, pledging their allegiance to the cause. Aisha felt a swell of pride and hope as she watched them unite, the diverse group of individuals coming together for a common purpose. We will meet every night to train and prepare, Aisha declared. Together, we will face the cult and protect our village. As the crowd dispersed, Aisha and her friends gathered to discuss their next steps. We need to train everyone in basic magic and defensive techniques, Amina suggested. If we are to stand a chance, we must be ready. Kofi nodded. And we must find the other hearts before the cult does. They are our only hope against the darkness. That night, they began their training sessions, teaching the villagers the basics of harnessing magic and channeling their energy. As the days passed, they saw the villagers grow more confident, their fear replaced by determination. But as they trained, the shadow of the cult loomed larger. Rumors began to circulate about strange gatherings in the outskirts of the village, and Aisha couldn't shake the feeling that time was running out. One evening, as they practiced spells under the light of the moon, Aisha felt a cold breeze brush against her skin. She paused, sensing a disturbance in the air. Amina, do you feel that? She asked, looking around. Yes, Amina replied, her expression grave. Something is coming. Suddenly, a loud crash echoed through the village, followed by a guttural roar. Panic erupted among the villagers as shadows began to emerge from the trees, their forms twisting and writhing in the moonlight. Stay together. Kofi shouted, his voice cutting through the chaos. We can fight them. Aisha felt the heart thrum against her chest, urging her to take action. She raised her hands, channeling energy into a protective barrier around the villagers. Focus on the light. We are stronger together. As they formed a united front, the shadows lunged toward them, their dark forms swirling like smoke. Aisha pushed back with all her might, her heart racing as the darkness threatened to engulf them. With the villagers standing firm beside her, Aisha felt a surge of power, an unbreakable bond forming as they fought against the encroaching shadows. The heart pulsed with energy, fueling their determination. Together, she cried, and the villagers joined her, their voices rising in unison. The power of their combined magic filled the air, pushing back against the darkness. But the shadows were relentless, and Aisha could feel the strain on her body. Just as the darkness threatened to overwhelm them, a blinding light erupted from the heart, cascading through the village like a wave. The shadows shrieked, retreating into the night as the light illuminated the ground. Aisha felt a wave of relief wash over her, and the villagers erupted in cheers. We did it! Kofi exclaimed, embracing Aisha. We fought them off. But Amina's expression was serious. This was just a warning. The cult will not back down easily. Aisha nodded, her heart heavy. We need to be prepared for whatever comes next. The village buzzed with newfound energy and hope after the skirmish with the shadows, but Aisha felt an unease settling in her chest. She couldn't shake the feeling that the cult was watching them, biding their time. As training continued, Amina suggested that they strengthen their defenses. We should create protective wards around the village. That way, we can alert ourselves if they approach, she proposed. The group worked tirelessly, carving symbols into the earth and infusing them with their combined magic. Each ward felt like a beacon of light, a safeguard against the encroaching darkness. But the nights grew longer, and Aisha felt the weight of anticipation pressing on her shoulders. The villagers trained hard, but Aisha couldn't help but feel like they were merely delaying the inevitable. One evening, as she sat outside, staring at the stars, Kofi joined her. What's on your mind? He asked, concern etched on his face. I just have a bad feeling, Aisha admitted. It's like the cult is planning something big, something we're not ready for. Kofi nodded, his gaze serious. We'll face it together, whatever it is. We can't lose hope. The next day, Amina called for a meeting. We need to send scouts to gather more information about the cult, she said. We can't be blindsided again. Aisha volunteered to join the scouting party, eager to uncover the truth. Alongside Kofi and Malachi, they set out into the forest, following the faint traces of the cult's dark magic. As they approached an abandoned clearing, the air felt charged with tension. They crouched behind a thicket, peering into the clearing where the cult was gathered. Aisha's breath caught in her throat as she recognized the cult leader, cloaked in darkness, surrounded by followers dressed in black. The leader raised his arms, chanting incantations that sent shivers down Aisha's spine. They are performing a ritual, Kofi whispered, his eyes wide. Aisha strained to listen, her heart racing. What are they summoning? Suddenly, a piercing scream echoed through the clearing, and Aisha's stomach dropped. A figure was being dragged toward the altar, bound and terrified. We have to help them. Malachi urged, his fists clenched. No, we can't reveal ourselves, Aisha warned. We need to gather more information fast. As the ritual unfolded, Aisha felt a mix of fear and rage bubbling within her. They watched as the cult leader drew energy from the darkness, channeling it into a swirling vortex. Something terrible is happening, Aisha murmured. We need to warn the village. But before they could retreat, the cult leader turned suddenly, his eyes scanning the trees. I can feel you, he shouted, his voice echoing through the forest. Aisha's heart raced. "Run!" she cried, and they bolted into the woods, the sound of the cult's chanting growing louder behind them. They sprinted back to the village, adrenaline surging through their veins. "We need to prepare," Aisha yelled as they burst into the square, breathless. "What did you see?" Amina demanded, her eyes wide. "They are summoning something dark, and we have to stop it," Aisha replied, urgency in her voice. "Gather everyone. We need to fortify our defenses and prepare for battle," Amina ordered. As night fell, the villagers worked tirelessly, creating barriers and reinforcing their protective wards. Aisha felt the tension in the air, a mixture of fear and determination, as they prepared for the impending confrontation. They huddled together, sharing stories of courage and resilience, drawing strength from one another. As they formed a circle, Aisha raised her hands, channeling energy into the heart, urging it to guide them through the darkness. With the village ready for battle, Aisha took a deep breath, knowing that whatever lay ahead, they would face it together. As dawn broke, the village stood eerily silent, the heavy fog settling over the landscape. Aisha and her friends gathered in the square, their hearts pounding in anticipation of the impending conflict. "We need to stay united," Kofi said, his voice steady. "We fight for our home, for each other." Amina nodded, her eyes sharp with determination. "We must channel the power of the heart and use it to protect ourselves." Aisha glanced at the villagers, their faces filled with a mix of fear and resolve. They were ready to confront the cult, but Aisha couldn't shake the feeling that the true battle was yet to come. As the sun rose higher, casting light through the mist, the villagers prepared for the confrontation. Aisha stood at the forefront, her heart racing as they formed a protective barrier around the village. Hours passed in tense silence until a distant rumble echoed through the air. The ground trembled beneath their feet as the cult approached, a wave of darkness surging toward them. "Here they come!" Amina shouted, raising her arms to channel energy into the words. The cult emerged from the forest, their cloaked figures advancing like shadows. At the forefront stood the cult leader, a malevolent grin spreading across his face. "You think your petty words can protect you," he taunted, his voice dripping with contempt. "The darkness will consume you." Aisha felt the heart pulse wildly against her chest, urging her to respond. "We will not back down," she shouted, her voice steady. The cult leader laughed, a chilling sound that sent shivers down Aisha's spine. "Then let the reckoning begin." With a wave of his hand, the cult launched an assault, dark energy swirling around them like a storm. Aisha closed her eyes, focusing on the heart's energy, feeling it flow through her. Together, she cried, and the villagers channeled their magic, creating a barrier of light that pushed back against the darkness. The two forces collided, the sound echoing like thunder. Aisha felt the heat of the battle intensify, the air thick with magic and tension. The villagers fought valiantly, their determination shining like a beacon against the encroaching shadows. But the cult was relentless. The leader raised his arms, summoning dark creatures from the depths of the forest, twisted forms that lunged toward the villagers with ferocity. "Protect each other," Kofi shouted, battling alongside Aisha as they fended off the dark creatures. Amina chanted incantations, her voice steady and strong as she summoned shields of light to protect the villagers. Aisha felt a surge of power, her connection to the heart deepening as she fought. With every spell cast and every incantation spoken, the villagers stood united, their magic intertwining to create an unbreakable force against the darkness. Aisha felt the heart's energy amplifying their power, urging them to push back against the cult. But just as victory seemed within reach, the cult leader unleashed a wave of darkness that shattered their defenses, sending Aisha and her friends sprawling to the ground. Aisha gasped, her heart racing as she struggled to regain her footing. The cult leader advanced, his eyes burning with fury. "You think you can stop me? The heart belongs to me now," he roared, reaching for the glowing artifact. In that moment, Aisha felt a surge of determination. She couldn't let him take it. Summoning all her strength, she stood tall, channeling the energy of the heart. "No," she shouted, her voice piercing through the chaos. "The heart belongs to those who protect it." With that, she unleashed a blast of light, a wave of energy that collided with the cult leader, pushing him back. The villagers rallied behind her, their combined magic creating a barrier that surrounded the heart, protecting it from the clutches of darkness. The cult leader staggered, fury twisting his features as the light enveloped him. "You may have won this battle, but the darkness will never be extinguished," he screamed, before retreating into the shadows. As silence fell over the village, the villagers looked around, breathless and exhilarated. They had fought bravely, but Aisha knew this was only the beginning. "We must prepare for what's next," Amina said, her voice steady. "The cult will not give up easily." Kofi nodded, determination gleaming in his eyes. "We will be ready. Together, we will protect our village and the heart." As the dust settled, the village was filled with a mix of triumph and exhaustion. Aisha felt a sense of pride as she looked at her friends and the villagers who had fought valiantly against the darkness. But deep down, she sensed that the victory was only temporary. The cult leader's words echoed in her mind, a chilling reminder that the darkness would always seek to reclaim its power. "We need to regroup and strengthen our defenses," Amina said, her voice breaking through Aisha's thoughts. "We must be prepared for their next move." As they gathered in the square, the villagers shared their experiences from the battle. Some had faced their fears head-on, while others had discovered newfound strength within themselves. Aisha felt a sense of unity forming among them, a bond forged in the fire of battle. They were no longer just individuals, they were a community united against a common threat. "We must keep the heart safe," Kofi reminded them. "It's our greatest weapon against the cult." As the villagers began to repair the damage from the battle, Aisha felt a surge of determination. She wanted to ensure their safety and fortify their defenses. "Let's create a network of scouts to keep watch over the village," she suggested. "We need to be alerted if they approach again." Amina nodded in agreement. "We should also continue our training and strengthen our magic. The cult will not rest, and neither can we." Days turned into weeks as the villagers honed their skills and fortified their wards. Aisha found solace in the rhythm of their work, but the unease in her heart never fully dissipated. One evening, as she sat with Kofi, she confided her worries. "What if they come back with even stronger forces? What if we are not ready?" Kofi took her hand, his grip reassuring. "We've already faced darkness and emerged stronger. We'll face whatever comes next together." As night fell, Aisha gazed at the stars, seeking comfort in their light. But as she looked up, a shadow flickered at the edge of her vision. She turned sharply, her heart racing. "Kofi, did you see that?" she whispered, fear creeping into her voice. Before he could respond, the ground trembled again, and a chilling wind swept through the village. The protective words glowed brightly, pulsating with energy, warning them of an unseen threat. "Everyone, gather!" Amina shouted, urgency in her voice. As the villagers came together, Aisha felt a wave of anxiety wash over her. They had been prepared, but now it felt as if the darkness was closing in. Amina raised her hands, channeling energy into the words. "We must stand strong against whatever is coming." But as the shadows crept closer, Aisha knew that this time, the battle would be unlike anything they had faced before. They would have to confront not only the cult but the darkness that resided within their hearts. With resolve igniting within her, Aisha stepped forward. "We will not let fear take hold of us," she declared. "Together, we are stronger than the darkness." Is Aisha right that they will not let fear take hold of them? Are they together stronger than the darkness? Let's jump into the next episode and find out.